You ever gone onto Instagram or YouTube or whatever else it might have been and seen some content out there and realised that it's so beginner based? They're talking about push-pull leg splits, talk about how to track your protein, and for you with where you're at right now, it's so beginner based that you already know how to do all this sort of stuff. And then you go to another account, another channel, another subscription, whatever it might be, and all the stuff that they're talking about is far too advanced. They're talking about pharmacology, pharmacokinetics, talking about biology, they're talking about movement paths and all this kind of stuff where you don't really know how to apply it. Well, in this video, I'm going to talk to you about reasons that are not beginner based, that are not too advanced, and quite possibly the reasons why you've been looking the same for the past couple of years, and it's not your genetics. A lot of the lads I speak to that have been training for a couple of years, at the start they made great progress. They made amazing progress. They were progressing, they touched the weight and they grew. They ate relatively healthy. They made progress hand over fist. Whereas right now, they've been training for 2, 3, 4, 5 years, sometimes on and off, sometimes relatively serious, but progress has just slowed. No matter what tactic you've tried, you've just gotten to a point now where things aren't really moving like they used to be. And for a lot of the lads, it's usually the same reasons that come up. A lot of the lads I speak to, a lot of the lads I work with, always have the same kind of reasons. And a big one that I do want to start with here is that you have potentially subconsciously lost that fire that you started with. When you first started, it's new, it's exciting. When you start a new job, when you start a new relationship, whatever, I've not been in a new relationship since I was 14. So it's not like that for me anymore. It is boring, trust me. But it's new, it's exciting. You've not got that fire that what you did at the start. So things start to subconsciously settle down. You start kind of coasting a little bit without even really realizing you're not really doing it consciously, but it is there, it's happening. You go into the gym and you're just ticking the box. You're eating healthy, but you're just eating healthy. You know, you might be tracking your protein, you might be loose tracking your carbs and your fats, but nothing's really going to plan. Nothing's really done with intent. And so this is where in your stage of training now, you're essentially coasting because things haven't really moved along and you've subconsciously let them happen. You've not really had any goal for the past couple of months, maybe even for the past year, and you've just been going in, you've just been training. You've been eating healthy, but that's all you've been doing. You've potentially been having like 1, 2 off-plan meals a week. You're eating healthy, but you're not really doing anything drastic to make that next initial change. Now in this phase here, this is the intermediate phase where you're definitely not a beginner. You know how to train hard, you know how to potentially program, you know how to eat healthy, you know what good fats and bad fats are, but you're at that point in the middle where you're looking at studies and you're looking at all these really advanced posts and you don't really know what to do with them, but you're looking at beginner posts where they're talking about how to do a bicep curl and you think that it's stupid because this is what you learned in month 1. So you're in this intermediate sticky kind of phase and you don't really know where to turn. This is where goal selection heavily comes into play. Ask yourself truthfully, when was the last time that you actually set a goal that you potentially shit your pants out a little bit, that you potentially push the belt out because it's something that you've probably not done for a while. It's something where you've just been training, you've just been eating like I was just saying, and you've just not really taken that next little push to actually push yourself along to that next level. You not having a set in stone goal that you are driving towards, it is your one single purposeful goal, you not having that is costing you months and months, if not years worth of progress, stuck in this sticky in-between situation where you're not really moving forwards, but you're not yet experienced as in an expert level, but you don't really know where to go from here. And this is where that kind of comfort sits in, because it is comfortable. You know, you're going into the gym, you're training, you feel like you're doing everything right, you're pushing hard, you're potentially even tracking your training volume, you know, you're eating healthy, you're potentially even tracking your foods, but something's just not clicking, something's amiss, but you don't quite know what it is. And this is where that you've chosen that comfort subconsciously, so you're chasing that feeling of feeling okay. You know, you're chasing that feeling of everything's okay, I'm training, I'm doing everything right, but something's not clicking. This is where that comfort, your choice not to dive into the details, is costing you months and months of progress. Now, this is where your choice to chase that feeling of feeling okay is limiting you from taking that next step. Sometimes to take that next step, you have to be able to push through that little bit of dirt, to get into the trenches a little bit, to push a training volume relatively hard to the point where, yeah, you might be a little bit fatigued, and that's okay. When there's so many fucking posts out there about fatigue management this and fatigue management that and rest and recovery, they have missed the fundamental basics of train fucking hard. If you are potentially stagnant, push your sets. If you are potentially questioning if you are training hard enough, if that question even enters your mind, I can guarantee you that you're not. Because you will know for a fact when you're training hard enough, because you will leave that gym with nothing left in the tank. So if you're potentially asking these things, you've subconsciously slipped into that comfort zone where you're chasing that feeling of it's okay to sit here, which for some people it might be. But if you're watching this video, I know for a fact that that's not what you're after. You're after that next step and you're trying to find out what that is. And the thing is, you might have just listened to that and thought, well, that's just discipline. I just need more discipline. Not so much. Because you will have saw beginner posts on, you just need more discipline, bro. I'm here to tell you that it's fucking not that. You do not need more discipline. If you're training consistently, if you're eating even 70% clean foods, you probably don't need more discipline, to be honest. You have a missing link. And in this video, we're going to explain why. And this is where you have to put discipline to the side for a second and realize that it's not discipline. It's the standards that you're holding yourself to. It's the standards where you have a standard in work. If you're working a 9 till 5, you are at the door by 10 to 9, by 8:45. You are not late, you know. If you have got a task at hand in work, you make sure that you do it. If you've got a missus, a fella, partner of any sort, fiance, wife, husband, whatever, you have a standard that you care for that person, that you look after that person, that you give them undivided attention, because that's the standard that you hold yourself to. You know, you get your missus flowers, you get your lads a blowjob, whatever, you know. It's a standard that you hold yourself to in that relationship, in that job, in that friendship, where you take time out of your week to spend time with the lads, to spend time with the girls, because that's a standard that you need to upkeep. That's a standard that you have for yourself to keep to those other aspects of your life. And you've subconsciously, somewhere along the line, filed training under a personal hobby. It's no longer a standard like it was at the start. It's just something that you do on the side. And sometimes, again, that's not your fault. Sometimes you just need to hear that to realize that's subconsciously what you have done. And this is the problem. You've stepped into a zone where you are safe. You've told yourself that you're doing everything right, but that telling yourself that you're doing everything right, you're looking after recovery, you're eating healthy, you're ticking the box with training, you're doing your cardio, that's your safe zone. That is your new autopilot. What was your autopilot at the start is no longer your autopilot now. This is the time where you need to dig your heels in. If you want to step up from where you are now, it requires a new level of resilience. It requires a new standard that you need to step yourself up to. It's not discipline. This is the new standard that you need to breach yourself, that you need to push yourself to in order to get to that point, you know? And like I said to you at the start of the video, you will have read these posts about beginner posts, how to do a bicep curl, how to track calories. You know that these posts are far too basic for you to get fucking anything from. And then you're going to expert advice accounts, you're trying to find studies, you're trying to do all this major research that you don't really know how to apply that. And that's absolutely fine. When you get to that level, you don't really want to be at that level, because when you do get there, trying to apply these kind of things becomes very, very hard to progress. Can still be done, most definitely, but where you are right now, you're still in a position where you can make progress hand over fist. You just have to realize that that is the position you are in. You are in the safe place. You're in the safe zone where you're ticking the boxes, you're doing everything right, but you're not doing everything to your maximal capacity. You're training, but you're potentially not training hard enough. You might be programming things, but you might not be essentially executing to the immaculate position. You might be eating healthy, but are you tracking your macros properly? You might be hydrating, but are you hydrating to your maximal capacity? You might be recovering, but are you recovering to the best of your ability? Is your sleep in check? Is your AM and PM routine in check? You've fallen into a position where you're safe. And look, now hopefully that you've listened to this video, you've realized that this is a standardized issue. This is an issue that you've potentially subconsciously set on yourself. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to set yourself a singular goal. Don't overcomplicate it. Don't say, yeah, mate, I want to have a 10-inch willy and I want to do this, I want to do that, I want to do that. We can all dream, you know, but be realistic. Set yourself one goal, one target, and go hell for leather. Set a plan of action and attack it with force. Don't just set a plan of action and just tick the boxes. Set yourself a training program. If you're not fully at this position, reach out to somebody who does, or somebody else, and make sure that you are honing in on the details. If you want to potentially step to that next level, that standard that you're at now has to be elevated to the next level in order for you to get there. You have to realize that there is another step. And this is what I tell a lot of my guys. A lot of the guys that I work with are in this intermediate phase where they don't really know where to go. This is where I step in, or in your case here, if you don't like the way that I look, if you don't like bald guys, go to somebody else that has a full head of hair. Let them show you that you have another standard, that you have a new level to get to. All you need is the blueprint how to get there. And look, the reason why I'm so particular on this topic is because I myself have been there, and I've been there for a very long time, until somebody, exactly like I'm doing for you now, has called me on my bullshit. That I was in a comfort zone, that I was in a position where the goals that I'd originally set are now no longer happening. I wasn't doing the same thing as what I was at the start, and it was fucking infuriating because I sat there for way too long. If I had my time again, if I saw a video like this, this would be the first thing that I would be doing. Making sure that I am resilient and I am aggressive towards that goal. Because look, if you can truly say that you've been in this phase for longer than 6 months, you've been in this phase for too long. This isn't a phase that you need to be sitting in. This isn't a phase that you need to earn your stripes, bro. You need to get past this phase. It is uncomfortable. You need a game plan. You need to be resilient. You need to be aggressive. You need to be assertive, and you need to push the fucking shit out of it. You need to make sure that you have that exact goal in mind and you can take yourself towards that. So look, go to the link in the description. If you want to work with myself, there's a application form in there, and there is also some free content if you're not quite there yet. Feel free for either. Drop me a message if you have any questions, and I'll see you in the next one.